Today we invite you to reflect on what truth is in relation to yourself in practice and in society. The question is posed, can you be true and honest with yourself? Can you be true and honest in practice when you stretch your stigma? Are you ethically irreproachable with others in the world around you? These are the questions we will try to answer. Truth means truth and is one of the 5 yamas referred to by Patanjali in his book Yoga Sutra. That is indeed to be true in thoughts, words and actions in all aspects. At its core, being honest with yourself physically, mentally and emotionally. Truth indeed comes from the root truth, which is actually the root of many words and concepts in Sanskrit. Words like, for example, purity, which means pure, and meeting with the truth, which means encounter with the truth. At its core, Sat is a common prefix in Indian literature related to everything that is good, pure, genuine, virtuous, real, and in essence, in nature, etc. The root truth, in essence, has various translations and meanings, such as truth, reality, immutable, that which is not distorted, that which is beyond the distinction of time and space, that which permeates the universe in all its constancy and dimensions in its entirety. The negation of truth is indeed falsehood, which actually combines the letter A with truth, and in fact means misrepresentation, hallucination, invalid, false, fleeting. And now, how to apply truth to yourself? We can indeed start from the very basic principle that if we are honest with ourselves, it is very likely that we will also be honest in all other areas of our life. In most of our daily life, if not our entire life, we are identified with the production of mental activity and its emotions. This is made very clear by Patanjali in his book Yoga Sutra, chapter 1, verse 4, which tells us vritti svarupya mitaratra, meaning in another state, the identification with the activity of the mind, with the vrittis. This identification with the activity of the mind, with the vrittis, creates an existential puppet, the most important character in the theatre of our own life. And the issue is not about playing a role in the theatre of our lives, because all of us, consciously or unconsciously, play some role. The problem sometimes arises when we believe that we are indeed this persona. The more conditioned we are, the more we essentially identify with this existential puppet. When we react to situations emotionally and irrationally, we don't have enough distance to truly observe the truth. Deep down, we are reacting from our fears and conditioning in a way. With time and the practice of yoga, we begin to realize that we are not our thoughts and the emotions generated by them. They are part of our existential puppet. To be true and honest with ourselves, we must first create some inner tranquility, or at the very least, slow down mental activity. We can only be honest and true to ourselves when we disidentify and distance ourselves from the continuous and natural production of mental activity, as Patanjali indeed refers to in the Yoga Sutra, chapter 1, verse 3, Tadadrastu svarupe avastanam, which means, then, as it is said, the one who contemplates finds himself in his own nature. We already have the recipe for being true and honest with ourselves, which is no identification with the production of our own mental activity. Our mental activity is not certainly our essence, it simply forms a part of it. And how to apply the truth in sticky mat. Sticky mat is the privileged place where we find ourselves completely alone with our body, our mind, and our emotions, where we are indeed actually confronted with our habits, our mental programming, and our behavioral conditioning. Maintaining Satya in our asana practice is similar to applying non-violence to the practice of asana in our daily lives. How often do we deliberately ignore our limitations and condition simply with the aim, the goal of mastering an asana that we consider more advanced? We must ask if there is anything more aberrant than indeed truly getting an injury from the practice of yoga asana. It is a sign, of course, that we are ignoring ahimsa, non-violence in our practice, but also that we are ignoring Satya, being dishonest and untrue to ourselves. Therefore, instead of cultivating Satya in our practice, we indeed cultivate Sat, which is its opposite. The practice of yoga indeed exists for physical, mental, and emotional well-being and for our evolution, not to cause injuries and limitations in our life and body. The simplest way to check if we are applying Satya in our practice is to consider our breathing, ensuring that we are attentive to our breath and being mindful of our breath during the practice. Breathing should be the guiding thread of our entire practice. If the practice indeed makes our breathing irregular and inconsistent, it is a very important sign that we should reflect on how we approach our practice carefully. Even if our swag becomes very irritated and bothered, Satya in the practice of yoga means knowing how to listen to and follow the breath, working with it throughout the entire practice. Progress in yoga only exists when we manage to be honest and true at every moment of our practice, in our journey. The recipe for applying Satya in sticky math is to allow the breath to guide our entire practice in a mindful and deliberate manner and with full awareness, and how to apply Satya in various social relationships. Being honest and true to ourselves is already not easy, but being honest and true with others can become quite complicated. We know honesty is the foundation of any consistent and stable relationship, whether it is a friendship, a romantic relationship, a family relationship, or a professional one. When we allow the ego to take over our behavior and actions, we taint any relationship and trust that others may have in us in any way or even in the slightest. But we must indeed pay very close attention to the relationship between being truthful and having compassion for others. If, in any circumstance, being truthful will harm, hurt, cause suffering and discomfort to someone, in these situations, ahimsa, non-violence, takes precedence over Satya, truth. It is, without a doubt, certainly truly much better to be caring and kind than falsely truthful. If you enjoy our content, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it. And since you've watched the video up to this point, we can tell you that the history of humanity is filled with examples of how truth is fleeting and unfair. Truth is an impermanent concept. Ultimately, truths are only universal as long as they last.